Dr. Jazz.
Thanks for dropping the line. You know, you've been on the list, so I have the first record actually, the 86 one. I think it's 86 or 85.
That's a relic.
Yeah, the crisscross one, and it's such a nice one. I mean, I love that record. So, and but you know, speaking of records, I wanted to start with Homage, your latest album, and you know, it's such a beautiful record. And what's the story behind it? You've written also some beautiful music, and nice to see you have a trio record out. I mean, how did it happen? And
it's been a little while since the last one. Well, I recorded a quartet date for the Cellar label a couple of years ago, and I've just had a lot of material ready to record that I've been performing with my trio over a number of years. So it was just an opportunity to get it documented.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you written the music? I mean, what's your process when writing music? You know, you've written a lot of stuff, and on the new one, there's also like some beautiful melodies that you did. You know, like what's your process there?
Well, a lot of this I think is because of being a pianist and knowing a lot of tunes. When I compose, I hear harmony and melody at the same time. I never compose in a two-step process, really? Where I hear a melody and then really? After I have a melody, think, okay, what chords would go well with this, or come up with a chord progression and then try to find a melody that fits that.
Okay.
I don't do that. I hear melody and harmony simultaneously, and I improvise my songs like I improvise a solo, and I go as far as I can in one pass. I believe that composing in the tempo of the song, at least if you have an idea of what that is in your first ideas, is going to yield the best results. Because if you hear things in a different tempo, that's where you heard it.
Yeah, and then exactly.
Try to artificially jam something in that was conceived in a different setting may not yield the best results. So I basically, you know, get an idea and basically just kind of start and improvise in a free-flowing manner and just see where it takes me.
That's a cool one, actually.
And usually those are the best, the freshest, the most honest musical ideas.
Yeah.
Because it's conceived of in real time, in tempo. It's not, you know, I think the majority of your musical material should be conceived of as an improvisation. And then once you have enough material on paper or on your plate, then the sorting out process, the organizing process of the compositional process, that's when that comes in. Like, well, I have this idea, can I use them both? Okay, well, I'll do it this way on the first ending, and I'll do it this way on the second ending. Or what if I extended this section 4 more bars? Or could I hear it going this way? Or why don't we put this, maybe, I mean, if you look at it like a lot of Wayne Shorter's music, the first bars on the page are rarely the first bars on the recording.
Yeah.
You know, so that puzzle that jigsaw puzzle or what have you. Uh, that's the next step in the process.
Like, do you when you, do you record yourself then when you improvise and then you kind of listen back and write it down, or?
Sometimes I should do it more than I do. But I've got the pen and paper handy, and I pretty much try and remember and try and notate as much as I came up with in the first pass.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you get a running start and you get only so far and you kind of hit a wall. But the thing to do is to get that same running start from what you have in tempo and try and jump into the next phrase in tempo.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had a couple of songs that I just improvised the whole song in one pass.
Well,
it happens like that sometimes, and that's the best.
Yeah, sure.
You know, but you can tell. You know, I think a good song and a not so good song is very often revealed by how it seems to have been constructed. If there's some artificiality in the, you know, did the composer really hear what we hear when we listen to the song, or was it constructed very piecemeal and just stitched together?
And I haven't tried that yet. I mean, I usually, you know, with the instrument, write down, and I know I have to write a ballad. I just write a melody, but this is a nice way just to put a click on or tempo in your head and just start playing. I mean, that's cool. I have to try that. It's always nice to get ideas, you know, how to compose, and there are so many people out there who do it, each one differently, and it's amazing, you know.
I have there's a guy who has a great website called mymusicmasterclass.com, where he has a number of very well-respected musicians on all instruments and composition give their own personal video masterclasses, which he hosts. And I did one on composition and arranging, what makes a good song and how to get the most out of your compositions to have a full-fledged arrangement. And right now I'm working on producing the second part of that. And I take apart a particular tune of mine called Orient Express that has gone through several transformations over the years, but all of the songs that I wrote began as just songs, just the song form itself, and everything grew out of that. And once I started adding things, those added sections became sections of their own and were material to mine and compose off of that material. And it just keeps growing and growing. And you end up with a multi-sectional composition rather than just the song form that just gets repeated ad nauseam over and over. You know? So I'm trying to have a greater composition, a mix of composition in the mix between composition and improvisation. I think that's where the future of jazz that I'd like to see resides, where Wayne Shorter said composition is just improvisation slowed down and improvisation sped up. Or as I like to say, composition is edited improvisation and improvisation is unedited composition. But I didn't really come to composing until fairly late in my career, really. But once I felt like I had something successful, I heard back and said, this trust your instincts, trust your ability. I ended up feeling more confident in what I was writing, and it became as good an avenue for expressing what I want to express as improvisation is, which is great too. But it's like you said, it's uneditable.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, when have you started composing? Actually, I mean, music?
Well, the recording you mentioned, presenting Michael Weiss on
Yeah.
Christmas, that was my first recording as a leader, and I didn't have any tunes of my own at that point. But I thought to myself, if I don't have at least one original song on my own recording, I've got this great opportunity now. I won't be able to live that down. So I just sat down at the piano and just improvised without any preconception at all,
Mm.
and got pretty far, and then hit the wall, and then got a running start again, and tried to get over the hump to the next phrase, and kind of hit a roadblock. And just kind of out of sheer necessity, it's like, okay, you've got to finish this thing. And I just tacked on this ending, and it's seamless. So that's a tune on there called Après-vous.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah.
Loosely based on the changes to After You've Gone. So that was my first tune. And then I didn't really write very much for another 8 years or so.
Oh wow, okay.
And then I started playing with a bunch of guys, and I don't know, just felt a kind of a rejuvenation in going for things on in composition. And once I heard the music played, it's like that gave me some stamp of approval. Like, okay, you got something. You got something to contribute. And then soon after that, I got acquainted. I had been really sleeping on Wayne Shorter's music of the 80s and 90s. And a friend of mine was playing in his band named Jim Beard. We were in college together, and I went to hear the group, and they played this brand new arrangement of Children of the Night that I knew from the Messenger. Yeah. And it shocked me. And then I saw the music on the piano, and my eyes popped out of my head. And I ended up like studying that music really, really hard. And it was a major light bulb moment for me. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like when you first understand what Bird is doing, the very first time, like you get it. Well, it was really as profound as that, because I was a teenager in the early mid 70s when I first got into jazz.
So who was the first artist that you heard? What was it, Bird? I mean, Parker, or like a piano player, Bud Powell, or?
Well, I went to a music camp in Michigan called Interlochen. That's where Bob Mintzer went, and Peter Erskine.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, Peter Erskine had just joined Kenton's band right out of the Interlochen Academy. And so when I went there, I was 15, and I had no exposure to jazz at all.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I've been playing in rock bands and learning songs on the piano by ear. And I saw Duke Ellington, and I saw the Kenton band. And then when I went to high school right after that, my teacher had me buy a Horace Silver record. I didn't have any jazz records.
Okay.
Really, my first major influence that I listened to over and over was Horace Silver's Blowing the Blues Away. And then right after that, Train and Miles, of course. But at that time, Headhunters was brand new. Return to Forever was brand new.
Fusion kind of, yeah.
Mahavishnu Orchestra, Weather Report. All that music was like very accessible and right there. And so coming from my rock background, I related to all of that, and I wanted to, just learn everything. So And in addition, my classical piano background played a large part in not only the music, but in putting things together on the piano, orchestrating on the piano. And especially once in high school, I started to get into Scriabin and music like that, that had a harmonic language that was, right there with the jazz.
Jazz, actually, yeah, sure.
So once I began my career in New York, I was pretty much having more opportunities and success in bebop and hard bop, whatever style of musicians. Those were the people that were calling me that I was working with. So my roots in fusion and rock and whatever kind of just fell by the wayside. But then when I heard Wayne, I heard all those things that were dear to me compositionally, like Scriabin and all this rock rhythm, the most advanced harmony, the most advanced melody, the most advanced rhythm, all put together in this amazing format. And it blew my mind, and it made me realize that I had so much to draw on from my own life and experience that I just like kind of exploded in creativity and inspiration.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like from mid 90s that kind of really took off in that direction. Which is not, so there's like a couple of different, there's that kind of music that I write. It's all through composed, written bass lines, very intricately moving kind of harmony. But then I still write tunes that are largely kind of in the bebop
traditional.
And so this last recording that I did, Homage, is really pretty much in that kind of area. Although I've got a tune or two that come from the other side that I kind of snuck in there. The title track, Homage, is pretty much through composed.
It's very swinging, the new record.
Did you hear all of it, or just the two tunes that were released?
Just the two tunes, and I think was it on? No, just the two tunes.
Yeah. So those are like singles that have just like pre-release. The whole CD.
I remember April and
right.
Yeah.
And a tune called "We Love Horace."
Yeah.
Which is a blues in D.
Yeah.
But the rest of the whole CD, which is 11 tracks, that'll come out November 3rd.
Ah, okay. Yeah, but it's beautiful. It's swinging. What I've heard, it's really like I love it. It's very nice. I mean, but you mentioned moving to New York. What was the main trigger to move to New York? I mean, I guess early 80s when the town was quite crazy in a sense, yet still blooming musically. I mean, how did you decide to move?
Well, when I was a student at Indiana University, every time there was a break from school, school holiday or summer or whatever, I would go to New York.
Okay.
And blow all my money going from club to club, sleeping on couches and whatever I could do to be on the scene. And to have a chance to hear so many of the people I was looking at on record covers and listening to. So by the time I finished school, I had already been to New York 8 or 10 times. And I had long made up my mind that I'm going to get started. I'm going to New York as soon as I'm done with my degree. So there wasn't any question about that. So when I actually came to New York, October of 1981.
81 already. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
How was it when you came to New York, I mean, did you immediately start getting gigs, or like who were the first connections that you made? Like,
well, one significant thing, people that I knew and making jam sessions and finding little gigs, doing little gigs with singers and restaurants and jazz gigs, whatever could scrape up. But there was a bar on 23rd Street in 7th Avenue called the Star Cafe. And I was frequenting the Star Cafe because Junior Cook was playing there regularly. So I was hanging out there and going there, and I eventually became the house piano player for his group there. And a lot of people came in, Pharoah Saunders, Sonny Fortune, Cecil Taylor,
man, okay,
Tommy Turrentine, Lou Donaldson. So Lou Donaldson heard me there and hired me from hearing me.
Oh, wow.
I was from like 1982. I started playing at the Star Cafe weekly with Junior, and that was really where I kind of cut my teeth, because he was such a wonderful role model, player, very supportive. And since I came up listening to Horace Silver, there was that direct connection. And I befriended a pianist from Milwaukee named David Hazeltine, who was also the Star Cafe scene. Had a lot of great players of our age group: David, Brian Lynch, Ralph Moore, Ed Howard. Those guys were regulars there. And so David passed the Jon Hendricks gig to me. So I joined Jon Hendricks in '82 and did a long road trip in the States and a tour in Europe.
How was that like for you, being on the road, like kind of for the first time in Europe? And
yeah, that was great. It was, there were 4 singers, so a lot of it was kind of like a show, like a review. So there wasn't a lot of creative opportunity, except when Jon Hendricks did a few numbers just with the rhythm section, which was marvelous because he was as good an improviser as many horn players. He probably had the language of that music down better than any other singer, I would say, including all the ones we know, the famous ones. He could improvise a solo like Hang Mobley or somebody. I mean, he really had the language down. So that was a lot of fun. Smitty Smith was the drummer.
Really? Oh wow, man!
19. There's a video of us on YouTube playing
check this out.
The 1982 North Sea Festival.
Wow. Okay, Rotterdam. Okay. Oh no, it was in Den Haag.
In The Hague. So there's a couple of trio tunes.
Oh wow, I'll check it out. Wow.
It's pretty funny. I look like a kid. Well, as I was.
So you were like 24, right? Or 20 something.
24, yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
And Smitty, he's like 19, and he plays with such confidence and panache, and it's really quite something. So then after that tour, I was just basically, paying dues in New York and making whatever little gigs I could, and basically always trying to play with people better than me. All of our heroes, all the giants, who walked the earth, were in New York, and
we're still alive,
alive and playing. Those guys were the ones who, there was a very kind of clear hierarchy of who's playing, who's headlining in the clubs, and who's frequenting those clubs, and who is musically and socially accessible
Mm.
So it was just a great time to be in New York.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you caught the train, like, of still be able to play with all those players, basically, who invented the music, right?
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of I mean, not only big stars, but the sidemen to big stars who were very active in New York. I mean, I worked a lot with Al Harewood, with Vernel Fournier,
Oh,
with
really? Oh, wow.
Jamil Nasser, with Bob Cranshaw, with
Wow.
uh, Walter Bolden, Joe Jones Jr. I mean, any number of Larry Gales, Hal Dodson,
Wow.
Walter Booker, Leroy Williams. I mean, just tons of names like that. People who jazz insiders recognize immediately.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Who were on the scene, and if you had some gigs, they're happy to make some gigs. So, if you seek those people out, it was a way to feel like you were participating in the scene that you wanted to be a part of.
Yeah, a good way to learn. I mean, to play with those guys. That's yeah. How did you get the gig? I think talking about the greats with Johnny Griffin, and you stayed such a long time with him. And how did that begin? I mean, you played with Jon Hendricks, who was a big name already, but I think Johnny Griffin maybe even. Well, in my ears, but it's hard to compare. But like, still, how did you get the gig with Johnny? I mean, how did that appear?
Well, so leading up to, by that time, 1987, I'd already worked a bit. I joined the Junior Cook Bill Hardman Quintet.
Okay.
Mickey Tucker was the pianist for that band, and he became less and less available for whatever reasons. And I kind of moved in and eventually had the gig, and we worked mostly around New York. We did a long European tour. That was with Walter Booker and Leroy Williams. And
wow. That's amazing.
That was about a 6-8 week tour of one-nighters. So I really cherished that.
Back in the old days, right?
Yeah, well, that's where you find yourself. That's how you figure out who you are.
How's that like for you? I mean, playing, like 40 gigs in a row or something like that. That's how do you reinvent? My longest tour was 17 days, and already then I was like questioning my playing after gig number 10. Like, how did you reinvent yourself or like stay fresh on a long tour like that? I mean,
that is how you stay fresh, because every night you have a chance to try something else and to kind of hone your craft, as it were. And everyone is playing something different. I mean, it's just there's no substitute for that type of experience. You just can't possibly. It's the only way to grow.
Yeah.
As a jazz musician, there's no way you can advance playing a few gigs a month or a gig a week, or Coltrane and all our heroes could not have developed to where they got to without playing night after night after night.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So that was really my first time being on the road with a caliber of group like that and playing night after night. And everybody plays with such authority and style.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that does is, like those guys, they were doing that already. Yeah. They were a lot younger than me at that point. So, how do you define what defines your jazz experience? Is it on the road since you were 14 and playing, or were you listening to records and transcribing solos? And how much of your time, of your development of internalizing the language is done on the bandstand or in front of the record player.
Yeah.
You know? So, and everybody spends time in front of the record player. Everybody, even, everybody who could first listen to Louis Armstrong learn. Jimmy Heath told me he and Train would transcribe bird solos together. So everybody's done it. But the question becomes is like, at what point do you wean yourself off of the studying and the imitation and go out on your own and exclusively work off of your own the body of language that you've built up by that point. How long can you go? Like how much are you able to tap into your potential, your creative potential on what you already? How much can you conceive of that you have never played before?
Yeah.
Even if it's an abstract concept of what you're going for, that you haven't gotten there yet, but it's the outline of it, the kind of language, what you want to be able to do. It might be like, I want to be able to play with the complete authority of John Coltrane in my own language, whatever. That expression, I want to do that, but in your own way, and however you conceive of that, like, as long as you've got that little carrot in front of you, you have something to be pursuing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And when you're on a tour, it's like it opens up and opens up. It's like I think I'm getting there. Plus your brain, you're so tuned up, you're so well oiled, like a well-oiled race car. You're not rusty. It doesn't matter if you didn't get a piano to practice on 2 days, or you're playing a different piano in every club. It's like you're ready to go.
Yeah. You're
mentally so fit, well trained, like a runner.
Yeah, it's like the season starts and then you're
runs
playing
every day.
Yeah.
You're a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, that's nicely put. Yeah. Yeah, but sorry, I interrupted you, like asking you how you got the gig with Johnny.
Griff. So I did that tour, and I was playing a lot of gigs with Lou Donaldson, Slide Hampton,
Wow.
Played with Pepper Adams a little bit, some little miscellaneous gigs with people like that. So I began playing some with Kenny Washington, the drummer. And so when there was an opening in Griff's band, first he called me to sub for his piano player one night in 1985. And then I did a few nights the next year in the Vanguard. And then a few months later, I joined the band.
Wow.
So it was a vacancy.
Yeah. That was with Dennis Irvin on bass, right? And Kenny on drums.
No, Dennis came later. First, okay. The bass player that joined at the same time I did was a guy named Phil Flanagan. Kenny brought us both on. And then Dennis joined a few months later. And then Peter Washington joined.
Yeah.
Dennis came back. And then John Weber followed Dennis Irwin.
How was it like on the road with Griff? I mean, with Johnny?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Griff was great to be around at all times, on and off the bandstand. Very affable and had a wonderful disposition at all times.
Yeah.
he was almost never he wasn't like a complainer. He wasn't down. You know, he had a pretty sunny disposition all the time. A lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, that's important. And basically, you know, bringing in the young guys to uplift his music and for you guys to learn. Actually, I mean, that's how it has been done in jazz like forever, right?
Yeah, well,
So
like
important.
all these guys that I mentioned that I played with, and but especially Johnny, the authority that they play with, and seriousness of purpose, and uh, it just pulls you up to another level. You just you learn what that level is. It's like, you know, maybe it's a lot of sports analogies you can make,
Sure. Yeah.
like someone who's just been playing in the minor leagues or whatever, and then they get called up to the majors, and they're playing with on the team that has like the best players in the world,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and you learn how people act and what they do and how they conduct themselves and what how they bring it, you know, and you just like it you know, it just it solidifies all of your ideas about the the seriousness of the art form.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, fucking around and having fun, but the seriousness of purpose, and just the respect for the art, and that
Yeah.
you're in a privileged position now, and you have an obligation to play your very best and tell a story.
Yeah.
Because when you just listen to how these people do it,
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
so I mean, there's all these professional aspects too. How band leaders like that, how they conduct themselves on the bandstand, how they deliver their product to an audience, to a paying audience.
Yeah. It's a responsibility, sure, to do all that. Yeah.
There's a lot to learn on all different levels.
Yeah. Being a band leader, I mean, since you mentioned it, like, and we talked about presenting Michael Weiss, that record. How did that story with Jerry Teakins begin? I mean, because I think it's one of the first records on Crisscross, actually. Uh,
Number
like,
22.
yeah, exactly. You know, it's just started then. But how did that connection begin? I mean,
Well, I was familiar with the label and what they were doing, and I made a demo tape with Junior, Cook, and Kenny
okay.
in the studio, and I sent it to him, and I guess he liked it, so he gave me a date.
Was it a lot of, you know, becoming a band leader? It's quite a, in a way, pressure, but like, did you feel comfortable immediately in that role? Like presenting the music, I mean, getting the
Having my
repertoire
own,
together and
being a leader
yeah, yeah.
well, you know, really, it was my first record. Period. I hadn't even been in the studio as a sideman,
I
so
really, oh wow, okay.
that made it a little daunting. It was just my first time, and plus, we recorded at Rudy's, and Rudy was the engineer.
Oh wow, yeah,
And being in Van Gelder's studio and playing the piano,
yeah.
the piano,
That's
was pretty daunting. But you know, really, ever since college, I think maybe you know, Horace's influence and Thad Jones as a composer and arranger, and whatever little professional opportunities I had, I was already thinking about what makes a good set, what makes a good presentation, having making sure on any set you've got something fast, something medium, something slow, major key, minor key, straight eighth rhythm, swing, having a good variety of material.
Yeah, that's an important thing.
And all through college, I was trying to play every little gig I could. I would go up to Indianapolis and hire the guys who came up playing with Wes Montgomery, Pookie Johnson, and Jimmy Coe, and people like that, and other older musicians that I could learn from. So I kind of had some experience in being a leader on gigs, making sure all the parts were written out properly, and taking on that kind of responsibility. I like that type of organizational responsibility.
Yeah.
So once I had the opportunity to record for Jerry, I did my thing. I picked tunes that I thought would have a nice variety of material. I wrote some arrangements that were fresh to the songs that were not mine. Make sure I have different persons play the first solo on any given tune. Make sure I had good intros, good endings, all that type of stuff. I think I learned all that from Horace, really.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's so important, of course. Well, everything you're saying. I mean, and then, playing with all the people later, you learned what band leading is all about. I mean,
yeah, Junior was really great. Junior really carried on Horace's ideas about that too. Even in a jam session, he would say things like no lulls, no lulls. Like if people took too long between songs to decide what to play.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
To have a responsibility to your audience. And he would always be playing backgrounds behind soloists and get the other horn players to play a riff or something behind the soloist to add things, good endings, good intros, so all these guys that I played with, Slide, Lou Donaldson, they all had great presentations, how they presented the songs. It wasn't
important. Yeah.
These things were just kind of left unfulfilled, So, the responsibility of presenting something solid, that nothing should sound like an accident.
Yeah.
Unless it's a good accident.
Yeah. That's that's a nice one. Yeah. But Michael, I wanted to ask you. I saw you played on September with Peter Washington and Louis Nash, a tribute to Barry Harris and gig. And how important was Barry to you and your connection with him? I mean, how did that story begin?
Well, I met Barry in Indianapolis. I was about 20, 21, and he was coming through town, so I got a lesson from him. And that's when I first met him. That was around 1980, 79. And so I would, try and hear him or see him when I visited New York in the ensuing years, and always maintain a relationship with him, which really just got stronger and closer over the years. We collaborated in a number of projects, the complete Bud Powell on Verve, minor notes. We did a 2-piano concert.
Oh, wow.
Music of Bud Powell. We did a music of Monk together with a few horn players. When he was ill or unable to make a gig, he would send me as his sub. And we just talked all the time, at least once a week for years and years, he was kind of a musical soulmate. And I mean, I'm not even talking about how much he influenced me musically and his expression on the piano, which has really touched me very much. But even sort of on the academic side of things, the hows and whys of melody and harmony, Barry kind of he was a teacher since he was a kid. He was teaching everybody on the block when he was a kid. So Barry's always been a thinker and and inquisitive and curious. You know, when he talks about his class and, you know, teaching for all these decades and decades, he likes to say, well, I must be the dumbest person in class because I'm the one who keeps coming back. So he was always interested in getting to the source of tonality. You know, really, just if you just talk about it in the most basic terms, it's like tonality and how tonality moves, and what makes it work from the smallest little components on out. You know, he'd call and he'd say, "Are you at your piano?" I said, "No." He said, "Okay, sit down at the piano. All right, now I want you to play play F sharp in the left hand below middle C. Now play C sharp and D and G sharp in the right hand." You see that? You see, we need to do more of that. We need to do more of that. Now move this note up a half step. Move. You see how that works? You know, just constant on any given day.
That's amazing, man. Oh.
Or you say, hey, pull out the Cootie Williams big band record. Tell me, what does Bud play on this bar here? And I'd go to my record and I'd pull it out, and then I go to the piano. So it sounds like he's, or we'd analyze a run, a descending run that Bud plays, where it starts and where it ends or whatever. Oh. Yeah, I mean, we, you know, I've said it a number of times. I said this in a eulogy, like Barry meant so much to so many people, and he was so giving of himself that everybody probably feels that they individually, they alone, had some kind of unique, special relationship with him. But he was just Barry. You know, and I'm just like that. I you know, that's how he made people feel. But we really could get into some discussions about harmony and stuff on a certain level that I really couldn't talk about with any, I don't have any other peers that know what we're talking about on a certain level as fast. Like we kind of cut to the chase, like we're not talking about that. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this right here. And we can both go there immediately. And, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, no, Barry was very special because I really connect with his way of expressing the expressive side of what he plays, not just the notes, not just the licks or the line, but it's how he plays what he plays. And really that's kind of the core and the soul of everything, the way everybody plays.
Sure. Yep.
when you're kind of developing your vocabulary, and hopefully you're open and sensitive to those aspects as well, and not just the notes.
Yeah.
It really kind of depresses me these days to see you know, what's on YouTube, that all these kids, they for lack of a better word, publish their transcriptions.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
On like that's for them. That's their own private study. Why should they think that they should share that with anybody else, as if that's some type of, what do you want, a gold star? That's some type of achievement. You want a pat on the head or something? Like, do your work. Like, what do you want me to do about it? What do you want? You know,
Yeah.
Could it be wrong anyway? I mean, it's not going to have any value to me.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the only value of transcribed solo is to the person who did it.
Yeah, to learn the language, and
You know, it's just weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, but it's nice what you said about Barry. I mean, I can just imagine, like, when you worked on those complete butt power recordings together, you know, analyzing and doing stuff, that must have been so much fun, man. I mean, it's just like incredible that you got to do that. I mean, you know, with
Well, we listened. It wasn't the first time we listened to music together, you know, but we had to listen to every track.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's like,
and every take. And the funny thing about that was, it was like over 2 days, and we listened to like 6 hours of music or something. And they had the tapes rolling, and they're just recording our extemporaneous comments while listening out loud. You know, they're playing every track, and while the recording's going on, I'm saying, "Oh, that was interesting," and Barry says, "Yeah, he didn't do that the first time," or, "You see, that's the shit right there." And so the person transcribed the whole thing without any time reference.
Yeah.
It's just comments, you know, "So sorry, please." So all these things that we say mean absolutely nothing because there's no reference to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, and then I realized this because I said, you know what? Send me the transcription. I want to make sure that, you know, the person heard what we said, because we're using a lot of musical jargon, and we might say something that's not very clearly enunciated, and it's going to be some college person who doesn't know, and they're just going to mistake words for other words. And sure enough, there were all kinds of that. I don't know what you think we said, but it wasn't that. Plus, there was no reference to the time.
Yeah,
I said, hold it. If this is going to be meaningful in any kind of way, you have to put a minute and a second when we said what we said, or at least beginning of the second solo chorus or something that references why we said what we said. That was pretty funny.
Man. But yeah, amazing, man. Amazing. Quite cool. But Michael, do you have any plans to promote the new record? I mean, like, or coming to Europe? What's for you on the schedule for the remainder of the year or next year?
Working on a number of things. I'd love to go back to Europe and play. I haven't performed in Europe since COVID.
Oh shit, yeah.
So it's been a little while. I've got some trio dates in the city that coincide with the record release. And as I mentioned, I'm working on this music masterclass composition. And have miscellaneous gigs with various people. Like you mentioned, I just played the Detroit Jazz Festival in a tribute to Barry in his hometown. That was a very special opportunity with Peter Washington and Louis Nash.
Amazing trio, man.
But we've worked together quite a lot over the years. Trio at the Village Vanguard and at Bradley's back in the day. Louis and I first worked with Art Farmer group with Clifford Gordon. And so then I worked quite a lot with Art Farmer after that, and toured with the Jazz Tet. Europe. That was great.
Amazing.
Might have some things coming up with George Coleman. I've been working with him.
Really? Oh, beautiful, man.
On and off for over several years. That's pretty much it.
Oh, that's a lot. Come on, that's seems busy, but yeah, come on. I hope you'll make it to Europe. Would be nice to see you live. I mean,
where are you based?
I'm in Slovenia.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so maybe you'll make it to Austria. Let's see.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I played in I played in Vienna. I played in Graz.
Yeah.
With Art Farmer, the jazz festival there.
Yeah.
And played it in the Volkstheater in Vienna.
Oh,
that was a beautiful theater with the jazz tet.
Wow.
We're on a double bill with George Shearing.
Oh wow, man. Yeah,
That was
cool.
great.
Yeah, it would be cool if you make it with a trio or to hear the music live. I mean, yeah. Let's see how the stars align to get a tour together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but cool.
So just keep moving forward.
Yeah. But man, thanks so much for sharing some of these thoughts. It was so nice to hear you talk about everything that you said. Like, beautiful to archive this. So appreciate it.